Welcome to episode 533 of Salsidoparanormal, and tonight I am sharing true paranormal stories on the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. As always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, as well as Liam Martin, host of the Exile Minds podcast, for producing these shows and putting them up on the station as you hear them with all the music at the beginning and the end of each episode there. And if you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And also, I have some paranormal fiction and nonfiction books you can check out over on Amazon. And I have a Patreon page where you can find one extra True Paranormal Stories on the Web episode every month for all membership tier levels there. And and of course, that's just a monthly subscription to that for either $1, $5, $10, or $20 there. So looking forward to hopefully some people signing up for that at some point, just to help out the show. If you don't want to do that, you can always just send a one-time donation through PayPal as well. And help is never expected, but especially these days, always appreciated. As I'm on a fixed income, I'm legally blind, and there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to, in some cases, travel expenses. And so, yeah, I think that covers everything for now. We are back to doing two of the True Paranormal Stories from the Web episodes per week. And then for now, it'll be 2 of the book review episodes. So looking forward to that. And then we will be getting back to the Haunted Places in the U.S. series again at some point, as soon as I'm able to get all the research done for Alaska. I'm going to do that just whenever I feel up to it, and hoping to start that soon. And so that'll be fun to get back into that. That'll just sort of be an on-again, off-again series whenever I get everything together for each state. So thank you all for being here. I see you all there in the chat and in the stream, the audience area there. And so I think I'm ready. I think that's it. So I can get to the stories now. So let's see here. This first one says, I am the co-owner of a farmhouse that is haunted by a ghost named C. And of course, I never use names in these shows, as some of you may know from previous stories, so that's why I'm using an initial there. I learned the ghost's name from a woman interested in viewing the house. She revealed that her father and grandfather built the house in 1900, and her grandmother, C, loved it deeply. C had to relocate, but passed away while away from the house, and her spirit supposedly returned to the house. My uncle, residing in the house initially, heard doors closing at night with no one else present. This happened multiple times. Later, we rented out the house without disclosing any incidents. The tenants heard distinct sounds of someone walking in the attic, forcefully slamming doors with a retracing pattern. But there were not There aren't any doors in the attic, and haven't been for some time. My grandparents moved in and claimed not to hear anything unusual. My uncle, staying in what is believed to be C's former bedroom, experienced tapping on the window throughout the night, but nothing outside was close enough to touch the window. C would sometimes focus her gaze on my uncle and call out his name. Recently, I had a dream on New Year's Day where C revealed the reason for keeping my uncle awake at night. I shared the dream with him, and he later heard his name being called out of nowhere while everyone else was asleep. I know this may sound strange or even impossible, but everything I have described here really did happen. And that's the end of that story. I always think it's amazing when you have accounts like that where the people involved are pretty sure they know who it is. I wonder with that, is it also, are there some kind of senses or feelings attached to that? Is that how they know? And or some kind of a telepathic communication between the people there and then the spirit or entity or whoever it may be. I wonder about that as well. Also, the doors opening and closing and the footsteps, that sounds almost like it could be a residual thing. That may or may not be the same thing as C. If it's, especially if there's doors open, if there's no doors up there, but people are hearing the sounds of doors opening and closing. I wonder if there ever were doors up in that attic at one point. And that could also be, in some cases, maybe some kind of a time anomaly, some kind of a time overlap where they were hearing into another time when there was doors there. As usual, a lot of possibilities with all these experiences. So, but yeah, the ones where the people are pretty sure they know who it is are always amazing to me because, especially when there's not a lot of sightings of anyone. It doesn't sound like here there's a lot of sightings of anyone, but if there is some kind of contact, mental telepathic contact, then they wouldn't need to, and really just sightings of a woman, they would have no way of knowing it was that one, the grandmother of the people that used to live there. They would have no way of knowing. Excuse me, my nose is bothering me a little bit again. Who it is. So that is, again, I always wonder with that. I don't doubt it because I think, again, I think that kind of a contact, that telepathic contact and or just the ability to pick up on information from other times, I think that is a possibility. So, yeah, neat story there. So one moment here, and I'll get to the next story. And we'll keep going here. All right. This next one says, my family has a history with strange experiences. This happened when I was around 13 and my sister was around 15. We lived in a 2-story house with our mother and her boyfriend. My mother and boyfriend's room was downstairs, while my sister and I had rooms upstairs. It was around 10 p.m. when this happened. My sister was in her room on the phone. I was in my room watching TV. My sister asked me to shut her bedroom door, which I did. Later, while going to the bathroom, I saw my sister in the living room downstairs. I thought that it was weird, as my bedroom door was open, and I didn't hear or see my sister leave her room after I had closed the door. Later, I heard my sister call again, but when I checked, my sister denied calling and was still in her room. I looked back downstairs and saw an identical figure of my sister. It had the same hair, outfit, posture, and everything. My sister downstairs didn't respond, and the voice from my sister's room said she didn't call. The figure downstairs looked up at me and smiled. The face looked off somehow. I locked my door and avoided going to my sister even when she called for the rest of that night. 3 years later, my family moved out, and I never saw the figure again. I never shared the experience with my sister or mother either. And that's where that one ends. That one is creepy. Doppelganger of some kind, mimic. I wonder if it had the same voice. It sounds like it did as well. And then just you wonder with those why. What is the reason? Is it to get attention, to get that fear energy from the person? It doesn't sound like it was the sister sort of astral projecting or bilocating. It does sound like it was some other entity posing as the sister. But then it didn't do anything else other than maybe call for the writer there and just sort of sit there and then look at them. And so I don't know with that. Definitely seems like whoever it was or whatever it was looking for attention, and it knew somehow. But then what I wonder with that too is how did the sister not hear the voice calling the writer? And of course, I say that, but there are plenty of stories of two people in the same location, one hearing something, and the other not. And so then is it, again, telepathic contact somehow? Hard to say with that. But amazing story, and I mean, I'm glad nothing else happened, and I'm glad they moved out. At least that took care of that. Seems like it handled that situation. So then, was that entity, was it sort of just passing through and it just stopped by the house one time, or was it always there? And so when they moved, it didn't really follow for whatever reason, and that's why there was never another experience like that. And these ones are tricky because you do hear accounts of people who see people they know who act normal and don't give off that off or creepy vibe. So this one is, of course, one of the other variety where they do. But also, I don't know if that necessarily means whatever the entity is. I don't know if that means it's evil. Maybe not the best, obviously, if you're sort of scaring people. But also there's that trickster element as well. So, and not all, again, trickster encounters end in terrible things like you would see in the movies and the TV shows and all those things. So, yeah, I don't know with that one, but I was hoping it was going to be more of a astral projection or bilocation thing, but there are other entities out there that seem to be able to copy appearances and sounds, even if they seem a little bit off. So I wonder if the voice seemed off or not, and the writer just didn't notice, or I don't know. I wonder about that. If the appearance is off, then I guess I would feel like the voice should be off, but maybe not. But yeah, I think that's all I have for that one. So move on to the next one here. Excuse me. And keep going. Let's see here. Okay. This one says, I am a 23-year-old female This happened when I was 9 or 10 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night. My lamp was still on. Reaching over to turn it off, I noticed a girl with blonde, shoulder-length hair, blue overalls, and a brown shirt. The girl was smiling and waving next to my air mattress bed. I made eye contact with the girl for about 5 seconds before feeling terrified. The girl appeared very clear with details like lines in her teeth and focused eyes. I turned back over in my bed and hid under the blanket. Eventually, I fell asleep. After that, I had difficulty sleeping in the room for weeks. And that's where that one ends. It's a shorter one, but yeah, that is an odd one. I feel bad because I wonder, again, some of these apparitions, I don't think that all of them always mean to cause fear in people. It doesn't say it was like a malicious or like an evil or twisted smile. It doesn't say like that. And they were waving. This girl was waving at what was at the time another girl, another young girl. So I don't feel like all the time it's these evil entities trying to get attention, or even just neutral like the last one, or anywhere in the middle there. But so I don't know with this one who that was or why they were there. I wonder. It's odd that there was no leading up to it. There was no sound. But then again, that happens. Sometimes there is no sound with these events. And so, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. But sounds like an apparition of some kind, but a solid one. And yeah, so really amazing sighting there. I wonder what the history of the location is. If there was ever any other events before or after. And that's the thing with these stories. You just get whatever they give you. And there's no way to know unless they say. But yeah, I really do feel like a lot of these sightings, obviously they can be frightening, even if the people or entities themselves don't mean to be. And if someone is just there, that just materialized, that can be frightening. So I don't blame anyone for being afraid of that. Even with the first experience I had with my cousin, now I look back at it, and I mean, we were frightened, but I don't feel like it was evil. I think it was just someone that was there that sort of, I think at that point, maybe they had been, either if there was a spirit, they had been a spirit for a while, and they sort of knew what they were capable of doing. And so they appeared the way they did, which again, for anyone that hasn't heard, my first sighting that I can remember for sure anyway, happened when I was about 14, 15, around there. And my cousin was around 10 or 11. And I guess I'll fill up the last of the show here with the story and tie it back into that last one. And the family had just moved into the house. And so it was my aunt and uncle and 2 daughters and then their son, which is the one I was there to visit. And so they just moved into this house and still unpacking and everything. And so the first night that I went to visit there, because I used to go there, I used to go to visit him a good 2 to 3 weekends out of every month, sometimes even 4, if there was nothing going on. And that lasted for really up until I was 18, 19, around there. Used to visit a lot. And so this first night at this house, there was a couch bed in the basement, so my cousin decided we would just sleep down there because we were kids at the time. And it was a big bed. So my cousin was not quite as big as me, so there's plenty of room. And so we were just sitting on the bed talking, and we looked back into the corner of this basement. We had the light on above us, and the light by the stairs on. But all the lights were the kind that you had to pull a string to turn on or off. So they were individually operated lights. And so the back corner where all the plumbing and electricity and stuff was at was dark. And they had clotheslines strung up along the rafters and between the poles and everything, the support poles in the basement. With so they had these clotheslines strung up, and they had sheets hanging from some of them. And so we were looking into the back of the basement, and we were looking directly at one of these sheets and these clotheslines, and we noticed just the head of an older woman above this clothesline. And but there was nothing on the floor anywhere near the clothesline. There was no feet, and there was nothing for anyone to stand on to be there. And of course, these clotheslines are up near the ceiling, so good 6 feet or probably 5.5, 6 feet or more. And so we knew it wasn't a regular person. So, and she was just glaring at us, and I could see her in detail. So I'm pretty sure now that she was sort of projecting her image into, at the very least in my mind, I don't know about my cousin's mind for sure, but definitely mine, because of course I'm legally blind and extremely nearsighted, so I can never see anything in detail that far away. But I was able to see this older woman, and glasses and everything, and hair kind of styled and everything, and she was just glaring at us like, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And so at the time, we were terrified. And so much so that we probably weren't thinking clearly. We should have just gotten out of there and gone upstairs, but we didn't do that. And there's a lot more to that story, but I mean, not a lot more. But the point is, now when I look back at that, I don't think that she was evil, whoever or whatever she was. I think it was just what the sense that we got, which was, who are you people and what are you doing here? As in, like, this is my house, or at least I live here anyway. And so yeah, going back to that last story, it could just be something, again, either with time going on where there's an overlap in time, or it could be the spirit of a person that maybe unfortunately passed. But also with that, you never know, because I've heard plenty of accounts of people after they pass, not so much going all the way back to them they were a kid, but I guess it's not impossible, of people appearing younger than they were when they passed. And so if it's a location that they just like to be at, and they have a lot of good memories there, it may not always be that they're stuck in a location, and especially if that was the only sighting in that location. So again, this is why it's sort of a double-edged sword. It's amazing because we can talk about this, and because there are so many variables, but then also it's confusing because there are so many variables in what all this could be. So, but I think that's all the time we have for this episode, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.